Welcome to New Day Cleveland. I'm David Moss at Playhouse Square because we're celebrating a big announcement. That's right, it's the 2018-2019 KeyBank Broadway series. 7 shows in all. They'll make you laugh, they'll make you cry. You'll dance, you may even sing along. So let's get started with show number 1. Here's Natalie.
We are so excited to see these shows, let me tell you, and I have the queen of Playhouse Square here with me, Gina Vernesi, the woman who, in all honesty, she sifts through everything and makes sure she finds the best shows to come here to Playhouse Square. How did you pick this bunch?
Well, it is a great season. We have another incredible KeyBank Broadway season lined up for everyone, and we couldn't be more excited to roll all this great news out with everyone here in the Fox network to see the secret sauce of what it takes to put this together. But we're going to open the season with Hello, Dolly.
So this is set in New York City, takes you back to the mid-1900s.
And you know what's so beautiful about this is that the set and the costumes for this have been designed by Santa Laquasto. And his vision is just marvelous. The costumes are lavish and beautiful. The set, the environment, so you'll feel like you're in New York in that time, but it's dripping with life and authenticity, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful fantasy world that you'll see on stage. It is starring that grande dame of Broadway, Betty Buckley, is going to be here with us, which is such an honor. This is like visiting royalty coming to Cleveland. So we couldn't be more excited to be opening our season with this wonderful, beloved, Tony Award-winning revival of Hello, Dolly. And you know, it features a whole stage full of high-stepping waiters and this lovable matchmaker named Dolly Gallagher Levi. She is the town matchmaker, and she is trying to put other people together, but in fact she finds her own love on this journey. So it's a wonderful night at the theater. You'll hear all of these great songs that you just are dying to hear again. Put on Your Sunday Clothes, and of course the title song, Hello, Dolly.
I think of it in my head every time.
Can't you hear it?
I'm like, I'm singing the little tune in my head as we go along. It's one of those, I think, shows that has been around for so long, but is always a classic.
Yeah, and how beautiful that we have this great staircase in back of us, because you will see Dolly Levi like descend that grand staircase with that fabulous headdress on. And it's a showstopper. It is an iconic moment in musical theater history, and it's all going to happen right here at the Connor Palace in October.
It's exciting news. I can't believe it's going to be here before we know it.
I know.
And this, again, just the start of so many amazing performances to take the stage here. So we're going to get to more of those in just a minute. But first, I'm going to send it back to David.
Natalie's going to be so sad she's not here, Todd.
I'm sad she's not here.
I bet you are sad.
I like Natalie.
Yeah, I like Natalie too.
Yeah.
I tell you what, you know what you're going to like, folks out there, is the Crowne Plaza Hotel, because things have changed over here. And Todd is the manager of the restaurant here, and it's called the Ghostlight Restaurant and Lounge.
Yeah.
Okay, and when I saw this place a few months ago, it didn't look like this, did it?
Not at all.
No, you've totally changed the place.
We did. We underwent a $6 million renovation of the hotel, and about $500,000 was spent just in the restaurant.
And boy, it shows. But what really shows, what really smells great, is the food. It is unbelievable. Like, you have a great happy hour here that is something that it's hard to believe. So let's start with the chicken wings. This is part of the happy hour.
Yeah, buffalo chicken wings, 8 chicken wings. All of our menu items are $6 at happy hour.
$6 for happy hour?
Yep, for the food items. We also do $5 house wines, and we have a martini list that are all $6.
$6 martinis.
Yep.
Now you can't beat it. So you look right across, you see the marquee, so it's easy to find. It's right here on the corner.
We are right in the middle of Playhouse
Square.
Square.
It's almost like the front of a submarine or something out here, isn't it? You can see all of Playhouse Square.
Yep.
What I like looking at too are some of these taco-looking items. Now, which taco is this?
So this is
one?
our beef short rib taco. That's also on the happy hour menu.
$6.
$6. It's a nice and messy taco. Coleslaw, some scallion on top. Our next happy hour menu is the pepperoni pizza, flatbread.
So this is sort of, it looks like it'd be like a meat lovers kind of thing too.
Yeah. We also offer meat lovers on our full menu.
So that's a big one.
Yep.
Is there some kind of seafood in this one?
So these are vegan tacos. These are quinoa and guacamole.
That's funny.
Lettuce.
You eat that. It's quinoa.
Yeah. So what we do is we treat the quinoa just like it's ground beef, like you do at home. You cook it and then you drain it. You add a little bit of water and then you add your onions and your spices, and it really comes out. You can't really tell the difference between that and ground beef. So the the guests that come in are loving it.
He heard I was a big perch fish fan.
Yeah,
And
I
he
did.
says, we have the best perch sandwich in town.
I'm going to stand by it.
Yeah, that is a monster,
This is
too.
it here. 2 nice fillets of perch, Lake Erie perch. And make sure we use Lake Erie perch. All of our sandwiches come with rosemary fries. If you prefer a salad or fruit, you know, we can always do that for our guests.
Charlie, the tuna is not going to swim
Tunas,
again.
yeah, seared tuna.
That is beautiful.
Fried wontons, yum yum sauce, and teriyaki.
So we've had this out here a minute so we could take some nice pictures of it, and I cannot believe all those French fries have remained on this plate.
I know.
Because people have been circling this.
Waiting for us to get done so they could have a snack.
Circling
Right.
us like birds.
Right.
It's just unbelievable.
Right.
Okay, what I would like most too about this is that your happy hour is a long happy hour. So if you're
It
coming
is.
down to a show,
It's
happy
the
hour starts when?
perfect stop for a show. It's from 4:30 to 7. Most of the shows start at 7 or 7:30. So you can valet your car here. We give a reduced validation for parking. You can leave your car here, have happy hour, and walk literally right across the street to a show.
I'm not going to quote any prices here, but you can actually park your car here cheaper, valet it,
Yes.
come in here,
have
some
a-
great
have a
happy hour
little
stuff
snack,
at
yep.
$6 a hit, and then race across the street and see the show. And if you think that's not good enough, come back because you're open till when?
Kitchen's open every night until 11. So we expect a 10:30 rush every night of people getting out of the show, getting out of a game, getting out of whatever, and they come back and they're hungry, and they want another drink before they call it a night, and
Right.
this is a great place to do it. So.
I know this is a Playhouse Square show, and we're talking about a season, but I think no matter what season or what time of year, it'd be a good idea to come down here and visit Todd at the Ghostlight.
We look forward to it.
It's fantastic,
Yeah,
man.
we're super excited about the renovation, the new menu, everything that's going on. So yeah,
I'm super
we're
excited
also
about
adding
it,
a
too.
patio in the spring.
See, we've got it all going
Yeah,
on here. So
yeah.
check it out.
Yep.
Ask for him; he'll help you out, right?
I will, absolutely.
Okay, a whole lot more New Day Cleveland coming up after the break, and thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome back to our season announcement show. This next one, Gina, I would assume you would probably agree with me on this, is a show that everyone should see once in their life.
Absolutely. It is the world's most loved musical. It is considered the masterpiece between Claude Michel Schoenberg and his writing partner Alain Boublil, and it's Les Miserables. Of course, it is based on Victor Hugo's 1862 novel that tells the story of Jean Valjean, that French peasant who's imprisoned for stealing a loaf of bread. And he is pursued by the relentless Javert, who's just obsessed with throwing him back in prison again. This, to me, this musical, it's beautiful writing. It is wonderful to view. It is the kind of rite of passage that you say if you've been to a Broadway musical, you have been to Les Miserables. Les Mis, as we actually like to call it in the biz, is just one of the most beloved musicals ever.
And I think that's shown in the fact that first we saw this as a novel, we've seen it on stage, it's turned into a movie. I think everyone wants to get their hands on this work of art.
Well, because it has this human landscape to it. It shows you the resilience of the human spirit, how one can endure and conquer, the redemptive values of what happens when you just keep pushing on despite the odds. All of those stories are here, and Jean Valjean is a hero to so many people because the wrong turn that goes for him in his life was based on stealing a loaf of bread to feed somebody who didn't have the money to buy it. I mean, the most basic of human needs, right? And here's this whole story that's built around that and conquering that and rising above it. And it's done in such a magnificent and epic way. There is nothing like Les Mis.
I think that it's one of those shows too that no matter what you have going on in your life, and it brings you back to reality. It keeps you grounded. It reminds you of, at the core, who we all are.
Right, and it reminds you what a bad day really looks like. You know, as much as we might think, oh, it's not going so well, when you see what it really means to struggle and when you see what it means to put your own needs aside in favor of doing the thing that you think is right. I mean, there are just so many wonderful stories and so many great examples of just being human that come out of this musical.
And again, another Tony Award winner.
Absolutely.
Multiple times. Best Actress and Best Actor too at points in time. So I think that the characters themselves lend that amazing performance with these actors.
Absolutely.
It's going to be an amazing performance, let me tell you. And again, if you haven't seen it, now is the time to come here to Playhouse Square.
Right, it's a real feast coming to us in November, right before Thanksgiving, so bring the whole family.
It's going to be spectacular.
Here's your chance to feel like you're part of the crew and go behind the scenes at Playhouse Square. You can take a backstage tour, and it's Mossman prices, it's free.
We are in the front part of the lobby of the State Theater, all right? So we're going to go into the main part of the lobby of the State Theater, and we'll kind of kick off and we'll start talking about some things there, all right? Okay.
So we offer free public tours, usually on the first Saturday of each month. You want to check playhousesquare.org for exact dates. We have 5 historic theaters that were built 1921 to 1922, and you get to explore all that beauty. Our tour guides will tell you about the history, the economic impact of Playhouse Square, all the great things that we're up to now. So our public tours usually take about 90 minutes. Every tour guide tells different stories, and every tour will take you different places. It all depends on which theaters are available. So sometimes you'll get to go backstage and see dressing rooms. If you go in the Counter Palace, you might get to see our 1921 fully restored Kimball organ, which is really cool. We bring that out before cinema at the Square performances and play it, and then also on public tour days. That's the only time you get to see it. And so you get to go all throughout the complex and see all the different spaces, hear about when they were built, what it took to build them, what they were originally built for, when they were restored. Sometimes you get to go on stage and see the view that the actors see when they're on stage. So it's a lot of fun, and like I said, it's different every time, so it's fun to come back and see what you can find out on different tours. Well, one of my favorite spots is the newly recreated Ohio Theater Gun Foundation lobby. We just finished recreating this lobby in 2016. It had been completely destroyed by fire in 1964. And when the theaters were first restored, there wasn't time or funding available to fully restore that lobby. And so we were finally able to complete that project, and it is just delicious in there with all of the molding and the colors and the murals. So I really encourage people to take some time looking around in that lobby. Our tour guides are so wonderful. They wear the famous Playhouse Square red coat jacket, and they are all volunteers who have chosen to do this because they love Playhouse Square and its history and sharing that with other people. Playhouse Square is one of Cleveland's most beautiful and most important cultural gems. We are so blessed in this city to have so many wonderful arts and cultural organizations, including, the orchestra and the art museum. And, Playhouse Square has such a rich history. It's so beautiful. There are so many details in these theaters that even I, working here for nearly 14 years, I discover something new every time I'm in the theater. So I hope that people will come and take the time to explore and see the beauty of the craftsmanship of these theaters that were built almost 100 years ago.
The tours are the first Saturday of every month starting at 10 a.m. And there's no need to sign up in advance, just show up. And be sure to visit Playhouse Square online for additional details. When we return, the revival of a favorite musical.
Say, can you see? Land of the free. Soon you will buy it from me.
Welcome back to our season announcement show. I must say I am very excited for this next one because I love a good love story. And Gina, this one is it.
Oh, it absolutely, it's a wonderful love story. It's a tragic story, Miss Saigon, of course, by the composers Claude Michel Schoenberg and Alain Boublil. It is based on the opera Madame Butterfly, and this is set at the time of the fall of Saigon. So the fall of Saigon was in 1975, and prior to that, you see how this wonderful woman, young woman named Kim, falls in love with Chris, the American soldier. And it's beautiful, it's passionate, it's innocent. It is looking for life in the most tragic of frames, you know, that the harsh realities of what it meant to live in Saigon, how one got by in Saigon, how one made a living in Saigon. You see all of those stories spelled out for you on stage. And what I love so much about this particular production, this reimagination of Miss Saigon, is that it really digs into the intimacy of the storytelling. It is told in such a beautiful way that you are feeling for the characters, you're feeling for the engineer who is a little bit of a conniving manipulator of people's lives, and you certainly empathize with Kim, with her love for Chris, and you realize how their affection for each other really endured despite what comes as an ultimate separation, the years, the miles, yet love endures, and it's a beautiful but tragic story.
So tell me about the costumes. How did they play a role in this?
Well, you will see authentic costumes. You'll see a great spectrum of color of the costumes from the era, from the place in Saigon, but you'll also see how costumes play a role in character, because some of these women and the way they are making a living, you'll see probably a lack of costume, which is actually also telling the story.
When you can relate in some way, even though it's set in a different time, a different place in the world, you still can relate.
Absolutely. And even in the world, there's always war, there's always disagreement, there's always this disruption of power, and how people connect in the most darkest of circumstances to fill a human need, your need to be held, your need to know that there's life and love, because that is actually what pulls us through even the toughest of times.
It's a show that you have to see, I think, more than anything. Again, another Tony Award winner. I mean, when we're looking at the plays, the musicals that you have brought in, they're top of the line, and they've been seen by the best of the best eyes and given these miraculous awards as well.
Well, you know, as they say in the show, the heat is on in Saigon, and it's a perfect show to heat you up in the month of January, which is right here at the Conner Palace.
Absolutely. Think about the timing and come and see the performance. That'd be a date night, I see, in the works,
absolutely.
Right? All right, well, when we come back with our season announcement show, we're taking a look at another magical show.
Now repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the band.
Welcome back here to our season announcement show. This next one, you're probably going to want to bring the whole family to. Gina, this is one where if you saw the film, you're going to love the musical.
Absolutely, because the Conner Palace is going to rock when School of Rock comes to Cleveland. This is, of course, based on the hilarious 2003 film. It tells the story of Dewey Finn, who is the reproached rock star who, in desperation for money, impersonates his roommate Ned and lands a job as a teacher, a band teacher for this group of fourth graders in an elite private school in New York. It is so much fun and so hilarious. And what's so interesting about this is Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote the score.
That just seems wild when you think about who Andrew Lloyd Webber is and this fun, kind of jovial show. The combination of the two, very interesting.
It is interesting, and in reality, it's Andrew returning to his very early years of writing with those electrifying vibes when he absolutely unleashes his inner Bruce Springsteen to write this musical. So the show absolutely jumps. He and Glenn Slater have written a score that literally have kids on their feet, and the audience will be on their feet. It is about kids whose parents are very involved with their own lives and actually not paying enough attention to the child. And you actually see how this sort of renegade band director, a little bit like Music Man, except a modern version of it, comes into this school and instills this love of music into this group of kids who are otherwise not particularly connected. It's a wonderful story because it tells you about how they identify with music, how they identify with instruments, how important those programs actually are in our schools, you know, how that goes so much further than just learning the instrument, because it's about learning how to play together. I cannot wait for Cleveland audiences to see School of Rock. It's going to be one rockin' night at the Conner Palace.
It truly is going to be, and I think what's really awesome about this show is that it debuted not that long ago, 2015, I think it was, and it already has a Tony nomination in its past already.
Right, and it's been, you know, it has been on tour, so we have been waiting for the exact right time for it to come to Cleveland. And it's just one of those musicals that you can bring the entire family to, because there truly is something for everyone in this storytelling.
And when will this one be hitting the stage?
Well, perfect for all those school breaks, because it's going to be right here in the month of March.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you, Gina. We're going to send it back to David, who is doing a little dining downtown.
Yours truly has finally arrived downtown Euclid Avenue, Playhouse Square. Art, how are you, and how long have you been here?
Oh, we've been here almost exactly a year, 13 months, and it's been terrific.
It looks like it's been fantastic business, too. I mean, I had to fight my way in here, like all of your restaurants.
It's really nice. Lunch is a no-brainer. Breakfast, of course, we're known for. And dinner, now that we have a full bar down here, we're getting known for booze.
I tell you, it is a great spot. If you have never been to a Yours Truly, I don't know where you've been all this time. I remember I met you years ago. You opened on Chagrin Boulevard by the big Beechwood Water Tower.
Right.
And you guys got publicity in the Wall Street Journal that day when you opened.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It's a unique place with 33 seats, and since we remodeled, it's bigger and better than ever.
And now you got, what, 9 of them?
Yes.
9 of them, and this one downtown Playhouse Square is in a perfect location. We got all these people moving into the Playhouse Square area. Plus, when you come down to the theater, come to Yours Truly, right?
Right. We're that less expensive option for people coming downtown for the theaters.
Okay, you said less expensive option, but the cool thing about this is, who makes the best hamburger or cheeseburger in the city?
You know we do.
You do. Who makes the best omelets and breakfasts in the city?
Best between here and New York and Chicago.
There's no doubt about it. Great food. Every time my kids come back in town visiting, they always have to go to Yours Truly. And they have it in downtown now. I think a lot of people are just discovering your restaurant.
We are. We're getting a lot of people that didn't know us from before, and it's really nice. So.
What are the hours here?
The same as our other stores, 6:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night during the week, and 11 o'clock on Friday and Saturday.
You know, Art was talking about a less pricey option for downtown and Playhouse Square. I mean, it's really unbelievable. You can put together a whole, like what would it cost me to come down here for one of your great cheeseburgers? Or you have great soups, too. Your soups are killer.
Well, most every item on our menu is less than $10. We do have a strip steak that's a little bit more, but most everything is under $10, a la carte, cooked to order.
What's your favorite item on the menu?
Oh, mine is a burger, and my nickname is Burger Boy, which is somewhere on my shirt here. So yeah, there it is, right there.
So this is you and your brother. So how's this one compared to the other stores? What's the feeling here?
Well, size-wise, it's about the same, but it's a different setup in that we built a mezzanine, so we have seating upstairs, and we also have a patio that's outside in the lobby of the Halley building.
So when it's too inclement to be out on the sidewalk trying to have dinner, you come indoors and you have the traffic out here in the middle of the Halley building.
Right, right, exactly. We have that patio there, and then in the summer we built a patio on the sidewalk. So, yeah.
It's sort of interesting to me because when you first started, you had a building that you tried to make historical, and now you have a building that is historical.
Yeah, it is. It's quite different. And then, of course, we're in Chagrin Falls was our second restaurant, and that was double the size of the Beechwood restaurant. And now we're going to remodel that after 35 years of being there. So we've got projects going on all the time.
Well, I'm sure glad to see you downtown. Like when I said, when my kids come home, they're out of town working now. They have to go to the 33-seat place over there on Chagrin Boulevard. If they can't get in there, they go to Wilson Mills. And now when they come downtown to see their buddies, here we are in the Halley building.
Perfect.
Great to see you again, Art.
Nice seeing you.
Congratulations
too,
on the place too.
Thank you.
We're going to head back to Natalie now.
It's 3 a.m. in the Bronx, New York. I'm on the corner of 187th and Belmont Avenue. This was my neighborhood. This is a Bronx Tale.
This next performance, I think, is just going to wow people. It has quite an interesting story behind the story, so to speak.
It does. It's written by Chaz Palminteri, A Bronx Tale. It is set at 187th and Belmont in a transitioning Italian neighborhood where he, as a 9-year-old, witnessed a murder. And he saw a murder take place, and the perpetrator saw him, and he saw the perpetrator, and it formed this very sort of odd bond with him. And it really created a situation where, as he was growing up, he was torn between the influence of his father, Lorenzo, who was a working man who drove a city bus, and Sonny, who was a silk tie wearing member of the mafia. And here is Chaz in the middle of it. The way the story actually came about is just so fascinating. Chaz went to the West Coast to be discovered, to be an actor, and that wasn't happening, and he was working as a doorman, got fired as a doorman, and he finally thought, you know, gee, if I'm not going to get cast in a show, I'll write a show and I'll put myself in it. And so he wrote about this experience. It started as a one-man show off Broadway. Robert De Niro saw it and then decided he was going to see about how he could take that to become a film. That became Robert De Niro's directing debut. He actually was also in it. Yeah, he started and he played Lorenzo, Chaz's father, and Chaz actually played Sonny, the gangster. So that happens, and now it's a Broadway musical because this story just sings to us in so many ways. As you talk about coming of age at a very turbulent time, the Chaz character, falls in love with someone, an African-American woman, and you know there's controversy with that. It's the mid-60s, and him just trying to like sort through all these things that he's seen in his world, and these are people he loves. He's wanting to understand it. It's a wonderful night at the theater. Of course, when you hear people talk about having seen the movie, because a lot of people have seen the movie, people say it's changed their life.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, how have they said how much it? I mean, because it's based on his real life experience, they've probably tried to keep as much of it the same in both as the movie and in the musical now.
They have remained very, you know, authentic to his writing and to his intent. He is very involved with the producing of it, and this is fun. The musical was directed by Jerry Zaks, who directed the off-Broadway version, and Robert De Niro, who directed the movie. The two of them have come together to create this musical for the stage.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
You have these powerhouse names attached to this. I think that goes to show you, too, how attached they have been to this story, period.
Yes, and it tells you about how much people just put their arms around this story and relate to it and want to be a part of its journey. So it's going to be coming right here to the Connor Palace, and it's just an intriguing, incredible insight into the mind of a young boy and how he walked this very fine line of respecting his family and maintaining the respect of this crime-ridden temptation that was just all around him.
Very interesting. End of April, beginning of May, you can come see A Bronx Tale. This will be great. Now, probably shouldn't bring the whole family to that one. However, we have some great things for family fun when we come back.
Welcome back to a very special edition of New Day Cleveland. I'm with Daniel Hahn, who is the Vice President of Community Engagement and Education, which sounds like it should involve young people.
It sure does, and we have a wonderful event coming up called Family Theater Day on Saturday, May 5th, which has a wonderful array of shows and activities for families for the whole region.
Okay, so a whole bunch of stuff going on there, and then I saw you have a special list of shows that you can have for young people and anyone who wants to see them, right?
That's absolutely right.
And these shows are shows that have a lot of involvement, a lot of participation, don't they?
They do, especially one in particular called Journey to Oz, which is by a wonderful theater company called the Experiential Theater Company. And their theme is, if you're in the room, you're in the play. So they're doing a Wizard of Oz play where audience members are actually brought up on stage.
Participating.
They do. Mostly it's kids, but sometimes they'll get an adult up there, and that always is fun to see what they do with the adults too. And they help tell the story of Dorothy's journey to Oz.
And then there's another show, Lula Del Ray, which it's sort of a visual experience, isn't it?
It is. The company's name is Manual Cinema, and that really describes what they do. They have the best features of cinema and theater combined in shows. So they have those old overhead projectors some of us might remember from school, and they have handmade puppets that are silhouette puppets that project silhouettes, but they also have live actors doing live silhouette and live musicians on stage. So your focal point is all over through the storytelling. It's really ingenious.
It sounds very exciting. And what's the show that involves some kind of crazy suitcases?
No, it's The Secret Life of Suitcases. And they do have secret lives, I've learned after watching this play. It's from Scotland, and there's a master puppet maker named Ali Cohen, who every once in a great while will go on tour with one of her puppet creations, and this is such a case. The Secret Life of Suitcases takes her master puppets and tells the story of what happens when a surprise is inside one of the suitcases.
It sounds like all three shows transport you to somewhere. Are these just for kids, or are these shows just daytime shows, or evening shows, or for adults and kids, or how does it work?
Well, the schedule that day is essentially from 11 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. So throughout the day, there are multiple performances of these plays. They're for really children of all ages, depending on the show you pick. And of course, everything is entirely family friendly.
And how about prices and free? I know there's a lot of free things you guys do.
There are. The theater tickets are only around $10 a ticket. So
that's almost free.
Virtually. You can't really beat
Right.
that price. The shows are around 60 minutes long, and it's top quality entertainment. And there are a number of free events, as you mentioned, as well.
Every year you come up with some great plan, but to me this year sounds like it's a little more interactive and transporting in a way.
It really is. You know, we actually have an installation called Journey to Emerald City. There's a wonderful Cleveland artist named Melissa Daubert who's going to turn our gun dance studio into an interactive Oz experience for children to go through for free the whole day.
So what's your life like, going out and finding these things and discovering them and bringing them to Cleveland?
What's exciting about it is you really get to be a professional shopper in some ways. There's these plays that are put before you, and you get to try to curate a season that really is suitable to our community, especially our families.
That's why you're the vice president.
That's right.
You're doing all the right stuff.
Well, we hope we're pleasing our audience.
Well, we're having a lot of fun here at Playhouse Square, and I hope Natalie is too, because we're going to check out right now.
Oh, did you just get David's tweet?
Oh, I did. But did you see that on Snapchat?
I didn't even know he had Snapchat.
Well,
you know
he's
something I
everywhere.
don't know. He is everywhere. I thought I knew him.
But you know, are we spending too much time on these?
People spend too much time on their phones, including me, so I'm
I
getting
agree.
part of it.
Okay.
But I know that that's what this next performance is really all about.
Well, Dear Evan Hansen is the Tony and Grammy award-winning musical that is really all about adolescents and the mistakes they make, and more importantly, the impact of social media on their very young lives. Here we meet high school senior Evan Hansen. And he's just, you know, he is hamstrung with social angst. He's not fitting in, as all teenagers sometimes feel like.
I feel like at one point or another, everyone can relate to that.
Right, who can't relate to that? And so his way of trying to deal with that is to write a letter to himself that begins, Dear Evan Hansen. And in that letter, he just lists out everything that are his most likable qualities. Well, what happens through a happenstance is that letter winds up in the hands of another boy's parents who are mourning the loss of their son. Now, they find this letter in their son's room and then wrongly assume that Evan Hansen is their son's best friend.
Oh.
So it's a very complicated set of circumstances then spin out of that, because Evan Hansen, who's looking for a friend, then assumes that persona.
Interesting. And this is a story that a lot of people don't know much about because it's fairly new.
It's fairly new. It has just been all the rage on Broadway. It's actually very hard to get a ticket to. We're so delighted it's coming here to the Conner Palace.
That is great for us then too.
Absolutely.
And there's two really impressive young men behind this.
Yes, well, Justin Paul and Benj Pask, who are the composers for the show, also wrote, you know, the score for La La Land, for The Greatest Showman. These are two young guys who are fairly recent graduates from the University of Michigan. They graduated in 2006. It's all ahead of them. They're just getting started. But what's wonderful about this is that they have come together with Stephen Levinson, who is the librettist who wrote the book for this, and they have just presented something that really sets such a different tone for Broadway, because it is a very much, it's a deeply personal style of storytelling, and the music just takes on a singer-songwriter quality to it that is interesting, it's intriguing, and in this you'll actually see how the set becomes a character, because in his world where he's trying to fit in and he's trying to pretend to be the person he's not, you can see all of what's happening on social media behind him, and it is just fascinating to watch.
So this sounds like something that would be good to bring high school age kids to learn maybe a lesson or two, and the rest of us as well.
Right, because it really is a show that's all about adolescents, frankly, and adults, the mistakes that we make in life and how you have to eventually do the right thing and unravel yourself out of the tangled web of lies that you might be living, and do the thing that's right, despite what you think are going to be the consequences that could, how disappointed people will be. You still have to do the right thing.
Taking the stage here at Playhouse Square next summer. When we come back, we're talking Dazzle Awards.
Welcome back. One more show to go, but before we get to that, we're taking a moment to recognize the future stars of the stage. Taking a look at the future stars. That's pretty amazing, isn't it, when you see these kids up there trying to make their dream come true and starting at a pretty young age.
It really is, David. You see these students rehearsing in high schools throughout the 7-county area, all getting ready to put on their spring musicals and perform on the Playhouse Square Counter Palace for the Dazzle Awards.
We have to take the last how many weeks worth of work and actually show that it was worth it.
It's not hard to discover, to figure out why they picked the word dazzle, because it is dazzling, isn't it?
It really is. You see these students, the best of the best in the whole region, who come together for one magical week to put on an award show that's really modeled after the Tony Awards. We bring in a Broadway director, choreographer, and in 1 week, we have a show that's really second to none. The journey that they go through, first of all, they start out rehearsing, in their high school musical, and then they do a production, and we send adjudicators out and they score them, on the best actor.
Adjudicators,
best
I like
actress.
that one.
That's right, it's our judges, if you will. And they're scoring these students and they're giving educational feedback so that the directors can, get outside perspective. Then we get the nominees, we announce them live on your show, and then, boy, they all come together and put on the awards show May 19th downtown.
Best Actor, Brandon Schumacher.
What do you think the range of emotions are with these kids? I mean, they're trying hard, and then they're in a competitive place. You can almost compare it to sports in a way, huh?
It's wonderful that the students both have that competitive nature, but there's a camaraderie too. So you get to the point after doing a show with someone, you almost have a lifelong friend. And as they do this rehearsal throughout the week, when you get to the performance night, I've heard students say, it would be great to win, but having this experience and this year-long Dazzle Award experience is what's really fulfilling.
You're on this journey with these kids too. I mean, you actually feel them mature as they hone and create their talent?
I do, because we offer these classes throughout the year with every Key Bank Broadway series show that comes through Playhouse Square. Artists from that show are providing free master classes to all of our Dazzle Awards
That's
schools.
a gift.
It's amazing. Could you imagine working on a voice class with a Broadway actress, or a dance class, or an audition class? They're doing that all year long, so by the time the end of May rolls around, we've got something special.
I was really amazed at how sophisticated the shows are and how terrific. I mean, they get the kids backstage doing the stuff, they get the kids on stage. I mean, the kids are doing all of it.
It's incredibly professional. We have a professional music director. The same stagehands that are there for a Broadway show are miking up these students, are getting them ready, are getting people on the stage. Really, it's second to none in excellence and caliber.
I was really lucky to be backstage during one of the Dazzle Awards and to see one group of kids from one school watch another group of kids that are on the stage watching each other, and this camaraderie that develops between the kids, even though they're competitive, it's like they fall in love with each other's skills, their shows, and back and forth.
We also see students, actually attending other students' musicals. It's about celebrating excellence in high school musicals. So when you have students in one school going and cheering on students in another school and then working with them, we're really, I think, helping to elevate the entire performing arts community to where it deserves to be.
Yeah, it is a fantastic thing to see, and to see the kids win, and then they get to go to New York.
Well, our Best Actor and Best Actress winner, which are sponsored by John and Patricia Chapman, go to New York City, and they compete in the Jimmy Awards and make their Broadway debut on the Minskoff stage June 25th this year. It's going to be incredible. And the winner of the national contest, and there's like 80 students from all over the country participating nationally in this. The winners each get $10,000 scholarships, some of them get commercials. It really can be life-changing.
You see how excited Daniel gets here. How proud are you of these kids and what they do?
I couldn't be prouder. I feel like they're my own kids sometimes.
Yeah, the Dazzle Awards. It's fantastic.
Thank you, David.
Nice.
Dazzle Awards.
Well, we are down to our 7th show here, and quite frankly, quite an interesting story that we've saved for last. This is a time frame where you took one of the worst days in American history, and they're turning this into a joyous event that spun out of it, so to speak.
So Come From Away is the story of the 38 flights that landed in Gander, Newfoundland on that devastating day of September 11th, 2001. What happened in Gander was magnificent, joyful, generous, because this was a town of 9,000 people that had 7,000 visitors land unexpectedly at their airport.
When you think about the sheer numbers, I
right.
can't imagine living with just 9,000 people and thinking, what are we going to do? And they knew the devastation of the time, and so to have to think, how can we help these people?
And help they did. People were from all over the world. They spoke many languages, not necessarily the same one. This was a flight going from Paris to Dallas. And just like anyone traveling, they had prescriptions that were expiring. They were hungry. They wanted showers. And the townspeople fixed them food. They opened up gymnasiums. They just took them on free taxi rides. Actually, I think there was a bus strike going on, and the strikers ended the strike to go help transport people around the city. It just moved people so much to just want to help. Out of just the joy, the human connection to just, we know this isn't what you had planned, but let us help you, let us take care of you. What is interesting about this is some of this story is framed around this woman named Beverly Bass, who was the captain of the American Airlines flight that was coming from Paris to Dallas. She was quite a magnificent woman in her own right. She was the first captain for American Airlines. She just was shattering the glass ceiling all the time in a very male-dominated role. But she tells this story about, and they found her actually. She was the only pilot actually that went to this reunion. And so these creators, Irene and David, found her, and they ended up spending like 4 hours with her to get her stories. There's a song in the show called Me in the Sky, which is really about her love of flight, how nothing's going to hold her back, how she is the captain of many aspects of her life, and it is what you would call the 11 o'clock number in the musical. It's the number in the musical that just makes you go, we can all fly. We all take flight when you see how humanistic everyone was treated. It showed you what it meant to be a real citizen of the world. To me, what is so amazing is that these creators took these thousands of stories.
So that's what they went there for initially?
Just to gather the stories.
Okay.
So they're Canadian, so they had heard about what occurred in Gander. So for that anniversary, they went there and they just wanted to meet those people, to meet the people who lived there and to see whoever might have come back, because there were, friendships forged through this, unusual circumstance. And so this great musicals came out of that experience. What is also impressive is, so they take these thousands of stories of what took place in those 5 days in Gander. They've distilled it into 100 minutes, a musical, played by 12 actors with 12 chairs and 2 tables.
So very minimalistic set.
Oh, it's a night that you won't forget. Absolutely.
So there you have it. You can find the list of the 7 shows on our website, and the only way to guarantee your seat is to become a season ticket holder, and you can do that right now. Individual show tickets go on sale later this year. I'm David Moss, and on behalf of Natalie Herbeck, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next New Day Cleveland.